Leave, you dirty old woman!
I gave away everything I owned 3 years before cancer tried to kill me. $73 million. Just signed it all away to charities, medical research, youth programs. My sister Delilah thought I was crazy. She actually laughed in my face and said, "Rochelle, you finally lost your mind for real this time." But here's what she didn't know. Here's what nobody knew. I had one secret left, one investment I never told a soul about. And that secret, that's the one that saved my life when my own flesh and blood threw me out on the street, like garbage. Trust me when I tell you, the way this story ends, nobody saw it coming. Especially not Delilah. Let me take you back. Let me show you how a woman who built an empire from nothing ended up fighting for her dignity in ways I never imagined, and how 3 strangers became the family I should have had all along. Hey, beautiful people, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because the story I'm about to share with you, this one's going to take you on a journey. We're talking about family, betrayal, secrets, and the kind of comeuppance that restores your faith in karma. This is the story of how I went from billionaire to homeless to cancer survivor to vindicated. And before we get into it, let me just say, sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who want to see you fall the hardest. Now let's get into it. I need you to understand something about me first. I wasn't born into money. I wasn't born into privilege. What I built with these 2 hands and a mind that refused to accept limitations. Rochelle Kimberly Thornton, that's my name. And at 55 years old, I could look back and say I'd done something with my life. Started with a small cleaning business when I was 23, worked my way up to owning a commercial cleaning company that serviced every major building in Atlanta. From there, I invested in real estate, then technology startups, then healthcare innovations. By the time I was 40, I was worth more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. But here's the thing about success. When you're a Black woman who made it happen without a man, without family money, without anything but sheer determination, people look at you different. They study you. They whisper. And some of them, the ones who should be happy for you, they resent you instead. My sister Delilah was 2 years younger than me. Pretty girl. Always was. Had our mother's smooth skin and those big expressive eyes that could make you believe anything she said. But behind those eyes was something I tried to ignore for years. Something sharp and bitter that grew bigger every time I achieved something new. When Mama died 15 years ago, it broke something in both of us. But where I channeled my grief into building something meaningful, Delilah channeled hers into blame. Blamed me for not being there enough at the end. Blamed me for working too much. Blamed me for everything except the cancer that actually took Mama from us. Mama spent her final months at Riverside Senior Care and Wellness Center. Beautiful place. Clean. Staff treated her with dignity and respect. I watched those nurses and aides care for her like she was their own mother, fed her when she couldn't feed herself, bathed her when she couldn't bathe herself, held her hand during the hard nights. That's when the idea came to me. I was going to build a care home just like that one, in Mama's honor, a place where elderly Black folks could age with dignity, where they'd be treated like royalty, not like burdens, where nobody would have to worry about their parents or grandparents being neglected or abused. It took me 3 years and $12 million to make it happen. I hired the best architects, the best contractors. I recruited staff who had hearts for caregiving, not just people looking for a paycheck. I set up an endowment to keep it running forever, even if I wasn't around to oversee it. And I did it all anonymously. The place was called Magnolia Gardens Senior Living. named after Mama's favorite flower. The paperwork went through a shell corporation. Nobody knew it was mine. Not the staff, not the board, and definitely not Delilah. Why didn't I tell her? Because I knew my sister. I knew she'd find a way to make it about her, to take credit, to somehow turn my tribute to Mama into her achievement. So I kept it quiet. But here's where life gets interesting. About 8 years ago, Delilah called me up, stressed out of her mind. "Rochelle, I need a favor," she said, and I could hear that tone in her voice. That tone that said she'd already decided I owed her something. "What's going on, Dee?" "I lost my job. Again." This was the 4th time in 6 years. I've been applying everywhere, but you know how it is. Nobody wants to give a sister a chance. I bit my tongue. Didn't mention that maybe if she showed up on time and didn't have an attitude with her supervisors, she might keep a job longer than 18 months. Didn't say any of that because I was trying to be supportive. "What kind of work are you looking for?" I asked. "I don't know. Something in healthcare administration. Maybe." I did get that certificate in health services management last year. That's when it hit me. Magnolia Gardens needed a new facility manager. The previous one had just retired to Florida. And despite everything, Delilah was my sister. Despite the resentment, despite the jealousy, I still wanted to help her. "Actually," I said slowly, "I know about a place that might be hiring. Senior care facility. They need someone with administrative experience. It's good pay, good benefits." "Where?" The interest in her voice was immediate. "Place called Magnolia Gardens, over on Cascade Road." "Never heard of it." "It's been open about 5 years. Beautiful facility. Very professional operation. I know some people there. I can make a call, get your resume to the right person." And that's exactly what I did. Made a call to the board director, mentioned I knew someone who might be a good fit. 3 interviews later, Delilah was hired as the assistant facility manager. She called me that evening, more excited than I'd heard her in years. "Girl, this place is incredible. I mean, I knew you said it was nice, but Rochelle, this is like a 5-star hotel for seniors. The salaries, the benefits package. I can't believe I'm getting this opportunity. I'm happy for you, Dee. Really. Thank you for the recommendation. I won't let you down." For a moment, just a brief moment, I thought maybe this would be good for us. Maybe having stable employment, doing meaningful work, would soften that hardness I'd seen growing in her over the years. I was wrong about that. For 7 years, things seemed okay. Not great. Not the close sisterly relationship I sometimes wish we had, but okay. Delilah thrived at Magnolia Gardens. Within 2 years, she'd been promoted to facility manager. She ran that place like it was her own creation. And maybe that's where the problem started. I'd visit Magnolia Gardens, sometimes just as a regular visitor. I'd make up a story about checking the place out for a friend's parent. Walk through, see how things were running. Every time I went, I'd see Delilah in her element, directing staff, organizing activities, meeting with families. She was good at it. I gave her that. But I also noticed something else. The way she talked about the place. Like she built it. Like she saved it from mediocrity with her management skills. Before I came here, this place was losing money hand over fist. She told me once over lunch. I completely restructured the operations, cut costs, improved efficiency. Now we're one of the most profitable senior care facilities in the metro area. I just nodded and ate my salad. Didn't mention that Magnolia Gardens was never about profit, that the endowment I'd set up meant it would never have to worry about money, that the whole point was care, not capitalism. During those years, I kept working too, kept building my empire. But I also started thinking about legacy, about what happens when you don't have children to pass things down to, when you don't have a husband or partner to share the fruits of your labor with. I dated over the years, had a few serious relationships, but I'd also seen too many successful women lose half their wealth in divorces, seen too many men who said they loved you, but really just loved your money. So I stayed single, stayed focused, built my empire alone. By the time I turned 52, I'd amassed over $73 million in liquid assets, not counting properties, not counting investments, just cash and stocks I could access tomorrow if I needed to. And that's when I made the decision that would change everything. I was going to give it all away, not Magnolia Gardens that was already set up to run independently, but everything else. The money, the properties, the stocks, all of it going to charities that actually did something. Children's hospitals, scholarship funds for young Black women pursuing business degrees, medical research, homeless shelters. My lawyers thought I was insane. Ms. Thornton, my financial advisor, said, peering at me over his reading glasses, "You're only 52 years old. You could live another 30, 40 years. This is your security." I have enough security, I told him. I have properties that generate income. I have Magnolia Gardens. I'll be fine. What I didn't tell him was that I'd been feeling tired. Not regular tired, deep in your bones tired. And I had this feeling, this sense that I needed to make my mark while I still could. That time was shorter than I wanted to believe. When I told Delilah about my decision, I thought she'd understand, maybe even be proud. We were having dinner at the Highlands, this nice restaurant she'd picked out. I waited until after we'd ordered, then I told her, "I'm donating most of my money to charity." She put down her wine glass slowly. "Say that again." "I've been thinking about it for a while now. I want to give back. I want my money to actually help people instead of just sitting in accounts." "How much money are we talking about?" "About 73 million. I watched her face change, watched that smooth expression crack, and something ugly peek through before she controlled it again. $73 million. Her voice was flat. "You're just giving away $73 million. To good causes, yes. What about family?" The question came out sharp. "What about your own sister?" "Dee, you have a good job. You're making over $90,000 a year plus benefits. You're doing well." "I'm doing well because I work my behind off every single day. While you've been sitting on millions, You've been what?" I kept my voice calm. "I got you that job, Delilah. I've helped you every time you needed help." "Helped me?" She laughed, and it wasn't a nice sound. "You mean thrown me scraps from your overflowing table? You mean reminded me constantly that you're the successful one, and I'm just the little sister who can't get it together. That's not fair." "Fair? You want to talk about fair, Rochelle? You got everything. You always got everything. Mama's pride, everyone's respect, all the opportunities. And I got what? The leftovers. Mama loved us both equally. Mama loved you more. Don't lie to yourself." She signaled for the waiter. "Check, please." "Delilah, wait." "No, you go ahead and give away your money to strangers. That's fine. That's your choice. But don't act like you're some saint when you've never once thought about what it's like to be in my shadow." She left cash on the table and walked out. Didn't speak to me for 3 months after that. Pause for a second. If you're enjoying this story, do me a favor and hit that like button. Drop a comment and let me know if you've ever dealt with family jealousy like this. Because trust me, it gets deeper. Now back to the story. It was 14 months after that dinner when my body finally told me what I'd been ignoring for too long. The fatigue got worse. Then came the weight loss. Then the night sweats. I told myself it was stress. Told myself it was menopause. Told myself everything except what it actually was. My assistant Patrice finally made the doctor's appointment for me when I fell asleep during a board meeting. "Miss Thornton, with all due respect, something's wrong," she said. "And I'm not taking no for an answer. I already scheduled you for tomorrow at 9. The tests came back on a Tuesday. I remember because it was raining, one of those gray Atlanta days where the sky just opens up and doesn't stop. I was sitting in Dr. Monroe's office, watching water stream down the window, when he came in with that expression doctors get when they have to deliver bad news. "Rochelle, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. You have stage 3 ovarian cancer." Stage 3. I heard the rest of what he said, something about treatment options, about chemotherapy, about aggressive intervention, but it all sounded like I was underwater, like the rain outside had somehow gotten inside and was filling up the room. "How long have I had this?" I finally asked, based on the progression, at least a year, maybe longer. A year. I'd been walking around for a year with cancer growing inside me, and I just ignored it, pushed through it, because that's what I did. That's what I always did. "What's the prognosis?" Dr. Monroe folded his hands. "With treatment, 60 to 70% 5-year survival rate. But, Rochelle, you need to start immediately, and you need support. This isn't something you can do alone." That's when I thought of Delilah. Despite everything, she was still my sister, still my only family, and I needed her. I called her from the parking lot. Rain still coming down, so hard I could barely see through the windshield. "Delilah, it's me. Rochelle." Her tone was cool. We'd been talking again, but it wasn't the same. "What's up?" "I need to tell you something. I just came from the doctor. I have cancer." Silence. Then, "What kind?" "Ovarian. Stage 3. More silence. Then something I didn't expect. Her voice softened just a little. Just enough for me to hope. "Okay," she said. "Okay. What do you need?" "I'm going to start chemo next week. Dr. Monroe said I'll need intensive care during treatment. He recommended I consider staying at a care facility that specializes in cancer patients, somewhere with medical staff on site 24/7. Makes sense. I was thinking about Magnolia Gardens. I know it's primarily for elderly patients, but I've heard they have an oncology care wing. And if you're there, I'd feel better knowing you're close by." I heard her breathe out. "Yeah, we do have that wing. It's actually beautiful. Quiet rooms, private bathrooms, nursing staff trained in chemo care. We could definitely accommodate you. Would you be okay with that? Having me there?" "Rochelle, you're my sister. Despite everything, I don't want you to suffer. Come to Magnolia Gardens. I'll make sure you get the best room, the best care. I'll watch over you myself." I actually cried a little bit, right there in that parking lot, with rain beating down on my car. I cried because my sister still cared, because family meant something after all. "Thank you, Dee. Really. Thank you. Don't mention it. We'll get through this together." I moved into Magnolia Gardens 3 weeks later, right after my first chemo treatment. Room 214 in the oncology wing. Private room. Large window overlooking the garden, private bathroom, small sitting area. Everything I needed. The staff was incredible. Nurse Keisha checked on me every few hours, never made me feel like a burden even when I was sick from the chemo. Aide Carmen helped me bathe when I was too weak to do it myself, always gentle, always respectful. And Delilah, for the first few weeks, she was there, checking on me, making sure I had everything I needed. For a moment, I thought maybe the cancer had brought us back together. Maybe it took something this serious to heal our relationship. I should have known better. It started small, little comments here and there. "The oncology wing is expensive to run," she mentioned one day while adjusting my four. "The equipment, the specialized staff. It's a significant investment. I'm sure it is. We're actually looking for donors to help expand it. Create more rooms. For people who can't afford places like this. I just nodded, too tired from the chemo to really engage. Then another time, I was going through some financial records for the facility. Did you know Magnolia Gardens receives anonymous donations? Large ones. Has been since it opened. My heart picked up a little, but I kept my face neutral. Really? Yeah, millions of dollars over the years. Someone really believes in this place. She looked at me strange. You don't happen to know anything about that, do you? Why would I? I don't know. You recommended this place to me years ago. Seemed like you knew a lot about it. I just heard good things. That's all. She didn't push it then, but I could see the wheels turning in her head. The chemo was brutal. If you've never been through it, I hope you never have to. It's not just feeling sick. It's feeling like your body is at war with itself, like you're being poisoned to save your life. Some days I couldn't get out of bed. Other days I couldn't keep anything down. My hair fell out in clumps. My skin got dry and ashy no matter how much lotion I used. But I pushed through, because that's what I do. Around week 8 of treatment, I started having trouble with incontinence. The chemo had messed up my bladder control. The nurses assured me it was normal, that it would get better. But in the meantime, I needed help. Adult diapers, regular changes. It was humiliating, but the staff never made me feel ashamed. Except when Delilah was around. You had another accident, she asked one day, wrinkling her nose as she came into my room. The chemo affects everything, Dee. The nurses said it's common. Still, you need to try harder to make it to the bathroom. We can't have the staff constantly changing sheets. Try harder. Like I wasn't already trying. Like I wasn't already mortified every time it happened. I'm doing my best, I said quietly. Well, your best needs to be better. Do you know how much extra laundry this creates? That's when I should have known. Should have seen what was coming. But I was sick and tired, and I just wanted to get through the treatment. It was month 4 of my treatment when everything changed. I just finished another round of chemo, was lying in bed feeling like death itself when Delilah came in. But she wasn't alone. She had a file folder with her, and this look on her face, this expression I'd seen before when we were kids, and she'd figured out something she thought she could use against me. Rochelle, we need to talk. I tried to sit up, but the nausea was too strong. About what? She sat down in the chair next to my bed, opened the folder. I was going through some old paperwork in the administrator's office. Documents from when Magnolia Gardens was first established. You'll never guess what I found. My stomach dropped, and it wasn't from the chemo. Articles of incorporation, financial statements, endowment documents. She looked up at me, all linked to a shell corporation called Magnolia Holdings LLC. And you know what? I did some digging, traced that corporation back to its owner. She held up a document. Even through my blurry vision, I could see my name on it. You built this place, she said, and I couldn't read her tone. You built Magnolia Gardens. You've been funding it this whole time, and you never said a word. I closed my eyes. Dee, why? The word came out sharp. Why keep it a secret? Why not tell me? Why let me think I was building something when it was yours all along? Because I didn't build it for recognition. I built it for Mama, to honor her memory, to honor Mama. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. You know what I think? I think you built it so you could have one more thing to hold over me. One more achievement I could never match. One more way to prove you're better than me. That's not true, isn't it? You gave me a job here, a job at a place you owned, and you never told me. You let me think I'd earned it on my own merit. But it was just you again, wasn't it? pulling strings, controlling things. Delilah, please, I'm not well enough for this right now. Not well enough. She stood up. You know what else I found in these documents? Your will, left at the lawyer's office, but a copy was in the files. Funny thing about wills, sometimes people file copies with organizations they're involved with. My whole body went cold. Guess who's the sole beneficiary? She smiled, but it looked wrong on her face. Me, your dear little sister. Everything goes to me. The properties, the investments, and most importantly, Magnolia Gardens, full ownership and control. She leaned closer. You were always going to give me something, weren't you? Just not while you were alive. Not while you could see me actually build something myself. No, you had to wait until you were gone to finally share. Dee, that's not. Save it. She headed for the door, then turned back. You know what? I've worked too hard to make Magnolia Gardens what it is today to have you swoop in on your deathbed and take credit for it. As far as I'm concerned, this place is mine. I've earned it, and when you're gone, it will be officially mine anyway. She left, didn't visit me again for 3 days, and when she did come back, everything had changed. Before we get into what happened next, do me a favor. If this story is resonating with you, hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment about a time someone betrayed your trust. Because what comes next? It's going to show you just how low family can sink. After Delilah discovered the truth about Magnolia Gardens, the quality of my care started to slip. After Delilah discovered the truth about Magnolia Gardens, the quality of my care started to slip. It was subtle at first. Nurse Keisha wasn't assigned to me anymore. When I asked why, the floor supervisor just said there'd been schedule changes. Instead, I got different aides every shift. People who didn't know my routine, who didn't know that I needed help getting to the bathroom quickly because of the incontinence issues. My call button responses got slower. I'd press it when I needed help, and instead of someone coming in 5 minutes, it would be 20, 30. By the time someone arrived, I'd already had an accident. The incidents increased, not because I wasn't trying, God knows I was trying, but because the support system had disappeared. And every time it happened, whoever cleaned me up would make these little comments. Again, that's the 3rd time today. You're really making a lot of extra work for us. Maybe you should just stay in bed if you can't make it to the bathroom. I'd see Delilah sometimes, walking past my room. She wouldn't come in, wouldn't check on me, just glance through the door with this cold expression and keep walking. The food portions got smaller. The fresh sheets weren't changed as often. The little things that had made Magnolia Gardens feel like a place of dignity started slipping away, at least in my room. I tried to tell myself I was being paranoid, that the cancer and chemo were making me overly sensitive. But I knew, deep down, I knew what was happening. My sister was making her move. It came to a head on a Tuesday morning. I'd had a particularly rough night. Chemo the day before had hit me harder than usual. I'd had 3 accidents during the night, and by the morning I was exhausted and humiliated and just wanted clean sheets and maybe a little compassion. Instead, I got Delilah. She walked into my room at 8 a.m. with 2 aides behind her, both of them looking uncomfortable. "Miss Thornton, we need to talk," she said, using my formal name like we weren't sisters, like she hadn't known me her entire life. "About what?" "About your continued stay at Magnolia Gardens. Specifically, about whether this facility is the right fit for your needs." I sat up slowly, ignoring the wave of nausea. "What are you talking about?" "You've had chronic incontinence issues that our staff is struggling to manage. You've had multiple incidents that have required extensive cleaning and linen changes. And quite frankly, the level of care you require is beyond what our standard oncology wing can provide. The nurses told me the incontinence is normal, that it's a side effect of the chemo." Perhaps. But that doesn't change the fact that Magnolia Gardens isn't equipped to handle your specific situation. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw nothing, no sisterly concern, no family loyalty, just cold calculation. You're kicking me out. I'm suggesting that you'd be better served at a facility that specializes in high-needs cancer patients. Dee, please, I have nowhere else to go. That's not my problem, Rochelle. This is a business decision. We have other patients who need this room, patients whose families pay full price for care. You've been here 4 months, and quite frankly, the cost of your care has exceeded. I'll pay more. I interrupted. Whatever you want. I'll pay double. She smiled, and it was the cruelest thing I'd ever seen. It's not about money. It's about appropriateness of care. And I've made my decision as the facility manager. You have until Friday to make alternative arrangements. It's Tuesday. Then I suggest you start making calls. I watched her leave, those 2 aides following behind her like soldiers. And I knew she was doing this because she could, because she discovered I owned the place, and instead of being grateful, she was angry. Angry that I'd succeeded, angry that I'd built something, angry that even dying, I still had more than her. Well, she thought I had more than her. Thursday came, and I still hadn't found another facility. Most places had waiting lists months long. The ones that had immediate openings were charging $15,000 a month. And with most of my money already donated, I didn't have that kind of liquid cash anymore. I tried to explain this to Delilah, tried to remind her that I was her sister, that I was sick, that I just needed a little more time. She stood in my doorway, arms crossed, face expressionless. Friday at noon, Rochelle, if you're not out by then, I'll have security remove you. Security? You'd have me physically removed. This is my facility. I set the rules. Your facility? The words came out before I could stop them. Delilah, I built this place. I own it. On paper, maybe, but I run it. I've made it successful. And when you're gone, which, let's be honest, won't be that long based on how you look, it'll be legally mine anyway. So really, I'm just taking early possession. I stared at her. This woman who I'd helped raise after Mama died. This woman I'd supported financially for years. This woman who I'd gotten a job, a career, a purpose. You're really going to do this to me? I'm doing what's best for Magnolia Gardens. Don't take it personally. She left, and I sat there in that room I'd paid to build, in that facility I'd created to honor our mother, and I cried, not from sadness, from the sheer shock of realizing that the person I thought I knew, my own sister, had a heart made of stone. Friday morning, I packed my things. Didn't have much. Some clothes, my medication, a few personal items. Patrice, my former assistant, came to pick me up. She'd been the only one I'd called, too ashamed to tell anyone else what was happening. Miss Thornton, you can stay with me, she offered as she helped me into her car. No, sweetheart, I can't put you out like that. Then where will you go? There's a shelter. Sunshine Hope Transitional Housing. They take women in crisis situations. A shelter? Miss Thornton, you're a billionaire. Was a billionaire. And right now, I'm just a sick woman who needs a place to sleep. As we drove away from Magnolia Gardens, I looked back at that beautiful building. The building I'd designed. The gardens I'd planned. The legacy I'd hoped would honor Mama's memory. And I saw Delilah standing at her office window, watching me leave. She didn't wave. Sunshine Hope Transitional Housing sat on a rough stretch of Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. 3-story brick building that had seen better days. But when I walked in that Friday afternoon, sick and tired and broken, they didn't turn me away. Miss Gladys ran the intake. She was maybe 65, big woman with kind eyes and hands that had seen hard work. "What's your story, sweetheart?" she asked as she filled out paperwork. I gave her the basics. Cancer. Treatment. Nowhere else to go. She looked at me for a long moment. "You're educated. I can tell by the way you talk. And those clothes, even worn out, they're quality. How'd you end up here?" "Long story. They all are." She handed me a key. "Room 7, second floor. Bathrooms communal. Breakfast at 7 a.m. Dinner at 6 p.m. Lights out at 10. You got medical appointments. You let me know so we can arrange transport." The room was small. Twin bed with thin blankets. A dresser with 3 drawers. A window that looked out at a brick wall. But it was clean and it was mine, and I was grateful for it. I lived there for 3 weeks. Went to my chemo appointments at the county hospital. Threw up in communal bathrooms. Tried to keep myself clean and dignified even as my body betrayed me over and over again. The other women at the shelter were kind. Shared food when they had extra. Offered to help when I was too weak to make it downstairs for dinner. But I could see the questions in their eyes. Who was I? How did I end up here? One night, a woman named Veronica asked me straight out. We were in the common room, just the 2 of us, watching some old TV show. "You don't belong here," she said. "I can tell. You're not like us." "I'm exactly like you," I said. "I'm a woman who needed help and had nowhere else to go." "No." She shook her head. "There's something else. Something you're not saying. Maybe it was the cancer. Maybe it was the exhaustion. Maybe I was just tired of holding it all in. I used to be rich." I told her. "Very rich. Built a business empire. Had more money than I could spend. Gave most of it away to charity a few years ago. Kept enough to live on, I thought. Then I got sick. And my sister, who I'd helped her whole life, threw me out of the care facility I built and paid for. So here I am, dying in a shelter because family ain't always family." Veronica just looked at me. Then she started laughing. Not mean laughter, just this deep, full-body laugh that said the absurdity of life had finally caught up with both of us. "That's the most messed up thing I've ever heard," she said. "And I've heard some stories. Yeah, well, it's my reality now. Your sister sounds like a real piece of work." "She is. Karma's going to catch up with her." "Maybe," I said, but I didn't really believe it. Week 3 at the shelter, I woke up feeling worse than I'd felt since starting treatment. My head was pounding. My chest felt tight. And when I tried to get out of bed, the room spun so violently I collapsed back onto the mattress. Miss Gladys found me an hour later when I didn't come down for breakfast. "Rochelle, baby, you okay?" "Something's wrong," I managed to say. "Feel wrong." She felt my forehead. "You're burning up. I'm calling an ambulance." "No, please. I can't afford." "Hush now. Your health is more important than money." The paramedics came. I remember the ride to the hospital, sirens blaring. Remember the ER nurse asking me questions I couldn't quite answer. Remember them saying something about sepsis, about my immune system crashing, about emergency intervention. Then nothing. I woke up 3 days later in a hospital bed. But it wasn't the county hospital. The room was too nice, too quiet, too private. A nurse came in when she saw me stirring. Young black girl, pretty, with her hair in neat braids. "Miss Thornton, can you hear me? Where am I?" "Piedmont Hospital. You were admitted through the ER with septic shock. You've been in and out of consciousness for 3 days." How did I tried to remember. I was at the shelter. Miss Gladys called an ambulance. But I thought they took me to county. You started deteriorating at county, so they transferred you here. You're stable now, but it was touch and go for a while. She adjusted my 4. "You have visitors. They've been here every day." "Visitors?" Maybe Delilah had a change of heart. Maybe she'd come to check on me. A family. Let me go get them. She left, and I closed my eyes, tried to prepare myself for Delilah's face, for whatever she was going to say, for another argument I didn't have the strength to have. But when the door opened again, it wasn't my sister who walked in. It was three people I'd never seen before in my life. The man came in first, tall, solid build, maybe mid-40s with gray threading through his beard. He had kind eyes, the kind of eyes that crinkle at the corners because they've spent a lot of time smiling. "Miss Thornton," he said, his voice gentle, "I'm Terence Whitfield. This is my wife, Nina, and our daughter, Jada." The wife stepped forward, shorter, Kavya, with natural hair styled in a beautiful twist-out. She had this warm presence that filled the room. "How are you feeling?" she asked, confused mostly. I admitted, "The nurse said you've been visiting me." "We have," Terence said, "for 3 days now. But I don't know you." "No, you don't." He pulled up a chair next to my bed. "Let me explain. Last Tuesday, my wife and I were at the grocery store. Small place over on Peachtree. We were just finishing up our shopping when we heard a commotion near the dairy section." Nina picked up the story. "A woman had collapsed. You had collapsed. People were just standing around, some calling 911, but nobody really helping. So Terence and I went over. You were unconscious," Terence continued, "but you had a medical alert bracelet that said you were undergoing cancer treatment. We stayed with you until the ambulance came, made sure you weren't alone. When the paramedics were getting ready to transport you to County Hospital, Nina said, something just didn't sit right with me. I asked if there was anyone we could call for you. They found a phone in your bag. There was just one number in your recent calls. I knew before she said it. The shelter. Miss Gladys told us your situation. About the cancer. About." She glanced at Terence. "About your sister. We couldn't just let you go through this alone," Terence said. "So when County called and said you needed to be transferred to a better facility, we arranged for you to come here. And we made sure you got a private room." I just stared at them. "Why would you do that? You don't know me." It was the daughter who answered. Jada. She couldn't have been more than 20 with her mother's face and her father's eyes. "Because it was the right thing to do," she said simply. "Nobody should have to face cancer alone." The tears came then. I couldn't stop them. These strangers, these complete strangers, had shown me more compassion in 3 days than my own flesh and blood had shown me in months. "I don't have money to pay you back," I said through the tears. "I gave it all away. I can't." "We're not asking for payment," Nina said firmly. "We're offering help. There's a difference." "All right, before I continue, I need you to do something. Hit that like button if you believe in good people. Because what this family did for me, it restored my faith in humanity. Drop a comment if you've ever been helped by a stranger. Let's share some positive stories." Now, back to what happened. I stayed at Piedmont for another week. The sepsis had complicated my cancer treatment, and the doctors wanted to make sure I was stable before continuing chemo. Every day, one or all of the Whitfields came to visit. Terence worked as an engineer for a tech company. Nina was a social worker, and Jada was in her 2nd year of nursing school at Emory. They were just regular people, good people, the kind of people who see someone in need and actually do something about it. "Where are you planning to go when you're discharged?" Nina asked one afternoon. "Back to the shelter, I guess." "No." She said it with such finality that I looked up in surprise. "You're not going back there. Not in your condition." "Nina, I appreciate everything you've done, but I can't. We have a guest room," she said. "Small but comfortable. You'd have your own bathroom. We're close to the hospital for your treatments. And Jada can help with your care. She's training to be an oncology nurse. I can't impose on you like that." You're not imposing. We're offering. But why? You don't owe me anything. Nina reached over and took my hand. My grandmother died alone in a hospital. She said quietly, nobody visited her. Nobody cared. I was too young to do anything about it at the time, but I promised myself that if I ever had the chance to make sure someone else didn't suffer alone, I would take it. You're that chance, Rochelle. Terrence nodded. Plus, our house is too quiet with just the three of us. We could use the company. And I could use the practical experience, Jada added with a smile. My professors are always saying we need to practice patient care. You'd actually be doing me a favor. I looked at these three people, these beautiful, generous souls, and I realized something. Sometimes family isn't about blood. Sometimes it's about who shows up when you need them most. Okay, I said. Okay, but just until I finish treatment, and I'll contribute what I can for expenses. We'll talk about that later, Nina said. Right now, let's just focus on getting you well. The Whitfield house was in East Atlanta. Modest brick ranch, 3 bedrooms, a small yard with a vegetable garden Nina tended on weekends. The guest room had a double bed with a blue comforter, a nightstand with a lamp, and windows that let in morning sun. It was the most beautiful room I'd ever seen. We cleaned out the closet for you, Jada said as she helped me unpack the few things I owned. And there are extra blankets in the chest if you get cold at night. This is too much, I said, but she just shook her head. It's just enough. Life with the Whitfields fell into a rhythm. Terrence would make breakfast before heading to work. Always something substantial because, as he said, you need your strength. Nina would check on me throughout the day, making sure I took my medications, helping when I needed it, but also giving me space to rest. And Jada, sweet, smart Jada, who would come home from her nursing classes and tell me everything she'd learned that day, who would help me to the bathroom when I was weak, who would sit with me during the bad nights when the chemo made me sick and scared. My professor says chemotherapy is getting better all the time, she told me one evening as she held my hand through a bout of nausea. New treatments, better outcomes. You're going to beat this, Ms. Rochelle. You can't know that. I said, no, but I can believe it. And sometimes belief is just as important as knowledge. They never made me feel like a burden, never made me feel like I was intruding on their lives. They just folded me into their family, like I'd always belonged there. We'd have dinner together every night, simple meals of chicken and rice, spaghetti, roasted vegetables from Nina's garden. They'd tell me about their days, ask about mine, include me in their discussions about everything from politics to what TV show to watch. This is what family dinners used to be like when I was growing up. I told them one night, before everything got complicated. It doesn't have to be complicated, Terrence said. People make it complicated. But really it's simple. You show up, you care, you do right by each other. If only my real family had understood that. Month 6 of chemotherapy, Dr. Monroe gave me news I'd been afraid to hope for. The tumors are shrinking, he said, showing me the scan results. Significantly, the treatment is working, Rochelle. I cried right there in his office. Not delicate tears, big, ugly, grateful sobs that came from somewhere deep inside. Does this mean? It means you're responding well. We'll continue treatment for another 2 months, then reassess. But I'm cautiously optimistic about your prognosis. I called Nina from the parking lot, told her the news through happy tears. We're celebrating tonight, she declared. I'm making your favorite, my grandmother's pot roast, and Jada's going to make that peach cobbler you love. That night, sitting around the Whitfields' dinner table with these people who had saved my life in more ways than one, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. I felt like I was home. I need to tell you all something, I said after dinner, as we sat in the living room, about who I used to be, about what I had before all this. You don't owe us explanations, Terrence said. I know, but I want you to understand. I want you to know the whole story. So I told them everything about building my business empire, about the $73 million I donated, about Magnolia Gardens, and how I built it anonymously to honor Mama, about giving Delilah a job there, never telling her I owned it, about the cancer diagnosis, about being thrown out of my own facility by my own sister. They listened quietly. When I finished, Nina just shook her head. Your sister did what? Kicked me out, called me dirty, smelly, said I was too much trouble. But you own the place. Still do legally, though she doesn't know that I know she knows. I laughed without humor. I found out she discovered the documents while I was there. She thinks when I die, it'll all go to her, because I'd written her into my will years ago. And will it? Jada asked quietly. I looked at these three people who had given me more than just shelter. They'd given me dignity, purpose, family. No, I said, it won't. The next day, I called my lawyer, Gerald Hastings, the man who'd handled all my business affairs for 20 years. I hadn't spoken to him since before I moved into Magnolia Gardens. Rochelle. His voice boomed through the phone. My God, woman, I've been trying to reach you for months. Are you all right? I am now, Gerald. I need to make some changes to my will. I should think so. Last I heard from your assistant Patrice, you were living in a shelter. A shelter? I nearly had a heart attack. Long story, but I need you to draw up new documents. Complete overhaul. Tell me what you need. I told him everything I wanted, how I wanted my assets distributed, who I wanted to benefit from what I'd built, the whole plan. When I finished, Gerald was quiet for a moment. Rochelle, are you absolutely sure about this? More sure than I've ever been about anything. It's going to cause quite a stir. Good. Let it stir. When do you want this executed? After I'm officially cancer-free. I want to make sure I'm around to see it. We worked out the details over the next week. New will, new beneficiaries, new trustees, everything documented, notarized, legally airtight. But I didn't tell the Whitfields. Not yet. I wanted them to continue caring for me because they wanted to, not because they knew what was coming. Month 8, Dr. Monroe's office. Terrence, Nina, and Jada all squeezed into the examination room with me because they insisted on being there for the results. Dr. Monroe came in with that expression doctors get when they have good news, but want to be professional about it. The latest scans show no evidence of cancer. He said. The room erupted. Jada started crying. Nina hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. Terrence just kept saying, "Thank you, Jesus. Thank you. You'll need regular monitoring." Dr. Monroe continued. Scans every 3 months for the first year, then every 6 months. But, Rochelle, you beat it. You beat stage 3 ovarian cancer. We beat it, I corrected, looking at the Whitfields. We all beat it together. That night, Nina insisted on cooking a feast. She invited extended family, friends, neighbors. The house filled up with people I'd never met who'd heard about my story, who wanted to celebrate with us. I stood in the kitchen, watching Nina coordinate everything with the efficiency of a military general, and I thought about how different my life looked now compared to a year ago. A year ago, I'd been wealthy but isolated, successful but alone, surrounded by luxury but starving for genuine connection. Now I was standing in a modest house in East Atlanta, wearing borrowed clothes, with barely any money to my name, and I'd never been richer. "Miss Rochelle, you okay?" Jada appeared at my elbow with a plate of food. "Yeah, baby, I'm more than okay." "Good, because I need to talk to you about something." She looked nervous. "My tuition for next semester is due soon, and I don't have all of it. I've been working part-time, but it's not enough, and I don't want to ask my parents for more because they've already stretched themselves thin helping you. Not that they regret it, she added quickly. They don't. Neither do I. But I was wondering if you might know of any scholarships or grants or... Stop, I said gently. Jada, after everything you and your family have done for me, did you really think I'd let you drop out of nursing school for lack of funds? I'm not asking you for money, Ms. Rochelle. I know you don't have. I have enough, I said. I still have some investments that generate income, and your tuition just became my top priority. I can't let you do that. You can't stop me. Besides, you're going to be an incredible nurse. The world needs more nurses like you. Consider it an investment in healthcare. She hugged me then, and I felt it again, that sense of rightness, of purpose, of family chosen rather than born. 2 weeks after being declared cancer-free, I called a family meeting, told the Whitfields I needed to discuss something important. We sat in their living room, me, Terrence, Nina, and Jada. I'd been living with them for 8 months now. 8 months of kindness. 8 months of being treated like I mattered. I need to tell you what I'm planning to do. I started. You're leaving, Nina said, and I could hear the disappointment in her voice. You're well now, so you're leaving. Actually, the opposite. I want to stay. If you'll have me, I want to pay rent, contribute to expenses, be a real member of this household. But before I do that, I need you to know what I've done. I pulled out the documents Gerald had delivered that morning. I told you I own Magnolia Gardens. What I didn't tell you was that I still have other assets. Some rental properties, some dividend-generating stocks. Not $73 million, but enough to live comfortably. Rochelle, you don't need to explain your finances to us. Terrence said, I do, actually, because I've made some decisions about those assets. Decisions that affect you. I handed Jada the first set of papers. This is a trust fund for your education. Full ride through nursing school, including living expenses. And when you graduate, there's enough there for you to pursue any specialty you want, oncology nursing, if that's still your passion, or whatever else calls to you. Jada's hands shook as she looked at the papers. Ms. Rochelle, this is too much. It's not enough, I said. Not for what you've given me. I handed Terrence and Nina the second set of papers. This is the deed to a house. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms in Cascade Heights. I bought it last week. It's yours. No mortgage. No strings. Just a gift to say thank you for saving my life. Nina burst into tears. Terrence just sat there, stunned. We can't accept this, he finally said. You can, and you will. Because here's the thing, you gave me something money can't buy. You gave me dignity when I had none. You gave me family when my real family threw me away. You gave me a reason to fight when I was ready to give up. This, I gestured to the papers. This is just property and money. What you gave me was priceless. But no buts. The papers are signed. The house is yours. You can move in whenever you're ready. We all cried then. Even Terrence, who'd been trying to hold it together. We sat in that living room and we cried and hugged and celebrated what it means when people actually show up for each other. But I wasn't done yet. There's one more thing, I said after we'd all composed ourselves. The biggest thing, actually. I pulled out the final set of documents. The ones that had taken Gerald 3 weeks to prepare. This is my revised will. Everything I have, all my remaining assets, all my properties, all my investments, and most importantly, Magnolia Gardens goes to one person. I looked at Jada. It goes to you. The room went silent. What? Jada whispered. Upon my death, everything becomes yours. The care facility, the rental properties, the investment portfolios, everything with the stipulation that your parents serve as trustees until you turn 25, and that Magnolia Gardens continues to operate according to its original mission, providing dignified care for elderly members of our community. Ms. Rochelle, I can't. You're the person who deserves it, I said, firmly. You're training to be a nurse. You understand care. You understand what it means to treat people with dignity. You're exactly the person who should control Magnolia Gardens and continue its mission. But what about your sister? Nina asked. Doesn't she think she's inheriting? I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. She does. She's been counting on it, actually. Been running Magnolia Gardens like it's already hers. Probably already planning what she's going to do with all my money. I looked at Jada. She's going to be very surprised when she finds out the truth. When will she find out? Terrence asked. When I'm ready to tell her, which will be soon. Very soon. I planned it carefully, called Magnolia Gardens, asked to speak with the facility manager. The receptionist put me through without realizing who I was. This is Delilah Thornton. How can I help you? Hello, Dee. It's me. Silence. Then, Rochelle, I thought you were dead. Not quite. Cancer-free, actually. Just got the news a few weeks ago. That's wonderful. She didn't sound like it was wonderful. She sounded panicked. Where are you? I'm around. I actually wanted to talk to you about Magnolia Gardens, about your future there. My future? Can you meet me tomorrow? Say, 2 p.m. at Cafe Intermezzo in Midtown. I don't know if I can get away. Make time, Delilah. Trust me, you'll want to hear what I have to say. I hung up before she could argue. The next day, I dressed carefully. Simple black dress. Hairstyled. It had grown back during recovery, shorter now but mine. A little makeup. I wanted Delilah to see me not as the sick, desperate woman she'd thrown out, but as the strong woman I'd become again. I arrived early, got a table by the window, ordered coffee, and waited. Delilah showed up exactly on time. She looked good, professional pantsuit, expensive purse, hair and nails done. She looked like success. She looked like she was wearing a costume of someone else's achievements. Rochelle, she said, sliding into the seat across from me. You look well. I am well, completely cancer-free. I'm glad to hear it. She folded her hands on the table. So what did you want to discuss? Your career, your future at Magnolia Gardens. She relaxed a little. What about it? I think it's time for you to step down as facility manager. The relaxation vanished. Excuse me? You heard me. I want you to resign. Why would I do that? I've built that facility into one of the most successful care homes in Atlanta. I've increased revenue by 40% in the last 3 years. You've treated patients like commodities instead of human beings. You've cut corners on care to boost profits. And you threw your own sister out into the street when she needed help the most. You were costing the facility too much money. I own the facility. The words came out sharper than I intended. I built it. I funded it. I created it to honor our mother's memory. And you threw me out of it like I was trash. You never told me you owned it. You let me think I'd earn my position there. You did earn it. I got you the interview, but you got the job on your own merit. And I never interfered with your management until you decided to kick out your dying sister. People at nearby tables were starting to look. Delilah noticed, lowered her voice. What do you want, Rochelle? I want you to understand something. That will you found, the one that left everything to you, it's void. I had it rewritten. The color drained from her face. What? I changed my will. Everything, the properties, the investments, Magnolia Gardens, it's all going to someone else. Someone who actually deserves it. You can't do that. I already did. Legal, notarized, airtight. When I die, you get nothing. Who? The word came out strangled. Who did you give it to? A 20-year-old nursing student named Jada Whitfield. Her family took me in when my own family threw me out. They cared for me through treatment. They saved my life. And she's going to carry on Mama's legacy at Magnolia Gardens in a way you never could. Delilah's face twisted into something ugly. You gave away our family legacy to strangers. They're more family than you ever were. Family shows up. Family cares. Family doesn't call you dirty and smelly and throw you out when you're dying. I was doing my job. Your job was to care for people. That facility exists because I wanted to create a place where people could age with dignity, where they'd be treated with respect. And you turned it into a business where the bottom line mattered more than the people you were supposed to serve. She stood up, chair scraping loud against the floor. You know what? I don't need your money. I don't need Magnolia Gardens. I've built my own reputation. I can get another job anywhere I want. Then do it, because your employment at Magnolia Gardens ends today. I'm having the board vote on your termination this afternoon. You can't. I can. I'm still the owner. I still control the board. And I'm done watching you corrupt everything I built. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she grabbed her purse and headed for the door. But she stopped, turned back. You always thought you were better than me, she said. Always. This just proves it. No, Dee. This proves that character matters more than blood. These strangers showed me more love in 8 months than you showed me in 55 years. That's not me thinking I'm better. That's just the truth. She left. I watched her walk away, shoulders rigid, head high, and I felt nothing. Not anger, not satisfaction, not even sadness. Just relief that it was finally over. All right, I need to stop here for a second, because what I'm about to tell you next, it's the part that absolutely changed everything. But before we get there, I need you to do something for me. If you've been invested in this story, if you want to know how it ends, hit that subscribe button right now. Like this video. Drop a comment telling me what you think Delilah did next. Because trust me, her reaction, nobody saw it coming. Okay, let's finish this story. Delilah didn't just resign from Magnolia Gardens. She disappeared. Within 2 weeks of our confrontation, she quit her job, sold her condo, and moved. Nobody knew where at first. Then Patrice, my former assistant who'd stayed friendly with some of the Magnolia Garden staff, called me with the news. She moved to London, Patrice said. Just packed up and left. Told people she'd gotten a job opportunity she couldn't pass up. London. Apparently she couldn't stand the shame. Couldn't face people knowing she'd been fired, that she'd lost her inheritance. So she just ran. I thought about that. Thought about my sister starting over in a foreign country, alone, running from consequences of her own actions. I should have felt victorious. Should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt sad. Sad for the relationship we could have had. Sad for the family we should have been. But I didn't dwell on it, because I had a new family now. A better one. Jada graduated from nursing school at the top of her class. I was there in the audience, sitting between Terrence and Nina, crying happy tears when she walked across that stage. I couldn't have done it without you, she told me later at the celebration dinner. Without your support, I would have had to drop out. Work full-time. It would have taken me years to finish. You would have found a way, I said. You're that determined, but I'm glad I could help. She started working at Magnolia Gardens the next month. Not as the owner. That wouldn't happen until I died, but as a nurse in the oncology wing. The same wing I'd stayed in. The same wing where I'd been mistreated. It's different now, she told me after her first week. The new manager is amazing. Really cares about the patients. And the staff, they're actually happy. It's what a care facility should be. I'd made sure of that. After Delilah left, I'd brought in new management, people who understood that care meant more than profit margins, who treated every resident like they were someone's mother, father, grandparent, someone worth dignity and respect. Magnolia Gardens was finally living up to Mama's legacy. Here's where the story takes one more turn. Remember Nina? Sweet, caring Nina, who'd helped save my life? 6 months after I was declared cancer-free, she sat me down at the kitchen table, just the two of us. She had that look on her face, the one people get when they have to say something difficult. Rochelle, I need to tell you something about my marriage. My heart dropped. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Actually, something's right for the first time in years. She took a breath. Terrence and I have an open marriage. I blinked. An open marriage? We've been doing it for 3 years now. We love each other. We're committed to our family, but we also acknowledged that sometimes people need different things. So we agreed, both of us, that we could see other people as long as we were honest about it. Okay, I said slowly. And you're telling me this because I've met someone special. His name is Malcolm Chin. He's a doctor at Piedmont. I met him while visiting you. Actually, we've been seeing each other for 4 months now. How does Terrence feel about it? He's happy for me. And he's been seeing someone too. We make it work because we communicate, because we respect each other. She looked at me. Malcolm wants to meet you, wants to meet Jada. He says, if he's going to be part of my life, he needs to know the people who matter to me. Nina, you don't need my blessing, but I want it. You're family now. Your opinion matters. But I want it. You're family now. Your opinion matters. I met Malcolm Chen the following week. Tall, handsome Asian man in his early 50s, successful cardiothoracic surgeon, kind eyes, obvious affection for Nina. Wealthy too, not that it mattered, but it was clear the man was doing well for himself. Nina talks about you constantly, he told me over dinner, about how brave you are, how strong. She says you taught her something about resilience. She saved my life. I said, I think it's the other way around. But what struck me most was how happy Nina looked, how she glowed when Malcolm held her hand, how she laughed more freely than I'd ever heard her laugh before. You found a good man, I told her later, when it was just us in the kitchen. I did. And the best part, it doesn't take away from what I have with Terrence. It just adds to it. She smiled. Life's too short to live by other people's rules about love. I learned that from you. For me, you lived your life on your terms. Never married because you didn't want to, built an empire your way, gave away your money when everyone said you were crazy. You showed me that there's more than one way to live a meaningful life. 3 years after I was declared cancer-free, I gathered everyone together. The Whitfields, Malcolm, Patrice, Gerald, my lawyer, a few close friends I'd made in the years since recovery. We were at the new house, the one I bought the Whitfields, which had become our collective home. They'd insisted I live with them there, said the house was too big for just 3 people. I have an announcement, I said, standing in the living room, surrounded by the people who mattered most. Oh God, is the cancer back? Nina's hand went to her mouth. No, nothing like that. I'm healthy, healthier than I've been in years. I smiled. I'm 58 years old. I've beaten cancer. I've rebuilt my life. And I've realized something. I don't want to wait until I'm dead to see my legacy in action. I turned to Jada. I'm transferring ownership of Magnolia Gardens to you. Now, not when I die. Now, Ms. Rochelle, you're 23 years old. You've been working there for 2 years. You understand the mission. You understand what it means to care for people with dignity. and I want to be around to see what you do with it, to help guide you if you need it, to watch you carry on what I started. Jada was crying. I don't know if I'm ready. You're ready, and you're not doing it alone. Your parents are still trustees. I'm still available for advice. But the decisions, the direction, that's yours now. I handed her the papers, legal documents transferring ownership, making her, at 23 years old, the owner of a premier care facility worth millions. There's a condition, though. I added, what's that? You take care of people the way your family took care of me. With dignity, with respect, with love. You make sure every single person who walks through those doors feels like they matter. Can you do that? Yes, ma'am. I promise. We celebrated that night, laughed and cried, and told stories. Malcolm proposed to Nina, not marriage. He clarified with a grin, but a commitment ceremony since they were still figuring out what their relationship looked like. Terrence cried happy tears and hugged them both. And I watched it all, this beautiful, unconventional, loving family that had formed from the wreckage of my old life. This was legacy, not money, not property, but people caring for each other, people showing up, people being family in all the ways that actually mattered. You want to know what happened to Delilah? Last I heard, she was still in London, working at some care facility there. She never reached out, never apologized, never acknowledged what she'd done. And that's okay. I've made peace with it, made peace with the fact that some people can't be happy for you, can't celebrate your success, can't show up when you need them most. But here's what I learned through all of it. Blood doesn't make family. Care makes family. Showing up makes family. Being there in the hard moments, the scary moments, the moments when someone needs help, that's what makes family. I learned that dignity isn't about how much money you have, or where you live, or what people think of you. It's about how you treat others and how you let yourself be treated. I learned that giving everything away wasn't losing anything, because what I got in return, love, support, real connection, was worth more than $73 million ever could be. I learned that cancer couldn't kill me, but bitterness could have. Anger could have. Holding on to grudges could have. So I let it all go. Let Delilah go. Let the old hurt go. And I found something better on the other side. Today, I'm 60 years old, still cancer-free, still living with the Whitfields in that big house in Cascade Heights. Jada's running Magnolia Gardens beautifully. She's already expanded it, added a hospice wing, started a program to provide free care for low-income families. She's 26 now and already making more of an impact than I ever did. Nina and Malcolm got married last year in a beautiful ceremony. Terrence walked her down the aisle and gave her away with tears in his eyes. Then he danced with his girlfriend at the reception. Yes, he has a girlfriend now, too, and she's wonderful. Their family just keeps growing in the most beautiful, unconventional way. And me, I spend my days volunteering at Magnolia Gardens, reading to residents, holding hands during hard moments, being the kind of presence that I wish I'd had when I was there as a patient. I'm writing my story now, too, not for revenge, not to shame anyone, but to tell other women, especially Black women who've built something, who've achieved something, who've been underestimated and betrayed, that your story doesn't end when things fall apart. Sometimes the falling apart is just making room for something better to grow. The billionaire woman who had everything but was dying alone, she's gone. In her place is a woman who has less money but more love, who has a smaller bank account but a fuller heart, who has a chosen family that shows up every single day. And honestly, I wouldn't trade this life for anything, not even $73 million. Thank you for staying with me through this whole story. If it touched your heart, if it made you think about what family really means, if it reminded you that setbacks can become setups for something better, do me a favor. Subscribe to this channel. We share real stories about real women navigating real life. Stories about resilience, redemption, and the power of people showing up for each other. Like this video if you believe in karma, if you believe good people still exist, if you believe that how you treat others matters. And comment below. Tell me about a time someone showed up for you when you needed it most. Or tell me about a time you showed up for someone else. Let's share these stories. Let's remind each other that humanity still exists in this world. Until next time, remember, your value isn't in your bank account. It's not in your title or your possessions or what other people think of you. Your value is in how you treat people, how you show up, how you love. Everything else, it's just noise. Peace and blessings to you all. I'll see you in the next video.